is on the phenomenon of lynching, the execution and torture of mainly African American men in the United States between the 1870s and the 1940s. There were over 4,000 of these, thousands or even tens of thousands of spectators. The victim was tortured, often for hours, and then often burned alive. I don't use the term dehumanizing acts because of the way I define dehumanization. Occasionally I might use it very loosely in a derivative sense, in the sense of acts of violence or oppression or atrocity that are fueled by dehumanizing ideas. But I think it's really important to keep these two things separate, because after all, we can dehumanize people without doing anything to them. The spectators at lynchings in the United States weren't doing the violence, but they were nonetheless dehumanizing the victim. When you read accounts of these things, you must ask yourself, as when you read accounts of the Holocaust and the Rwanda genocide and a half a dozen other such events that I could easily name, how can they do it? How can people do that? How can men, women, and children stand in a crowd and watch a man being tortured in the most brutal way and then burned alive? We need only look at the literature of the day. I like to go back to the newspaper reports and see how the victims are described. The victim is regularly described as a beast, as a monster, as an animal in human form. Dehumanization is not just a thing of the past.
We have people coming into the country, or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them. But we're taking people out of the country. These aren't people. These are animals.
And he regularly used terms like infestation to describe immigrants from what he also called shithole countries. Right now, there's a brutal war going on in Ukraine, and Russian state propaganda pictures Ukrainians using dehumanizing language. Among the images used are parasitic worms. The war is like deworming a cat. Pigs and Satanists and even monsters. So look, dehumanization is not the cause of these bloody conflicts. Dehumanization didn't cause the Holocaust. It didn't cause the Rwanda genocide. But what it did was fuel them. Dehumanization makes the path to atrocity easier. It both liberates aggression, it both disinhibits the most brutal forms of aggression, and makes that aggression not only morally acceptable, this is very important, not only morally acceptable, but often morally obligatory. Those who think they are battling to save the world from beasts in human form, from monsters, from demons, from embodiments of evil, will do anything and always think that they are in the right. And that's very, very important, because when you or I have the misfortune of getting caught up in the dehumanizing mindset, we too think we are standing for justice,